So this is some ROV footage of the barge Antelope, and we're going to look at a little bit of the ROV footage and just talk a little bit about what we see. This is a sonar image of what the ship looks like. You can see its hatches. It's about 186 feet long. Now we use ROVs a lot to get an idea of what it looks like, the boat looks like, but really sonar, we use that even more because we're able to get detailed measurements of it. Here's the ROV being dropped. Now this is in 300 feet of water, so it took a while to get down. And once we hit bottom, you can see that the visibility got bad because a lot of the silt was kicked up. Now here it is hard to see, but this is the bow of the vessel. And right here, you can see what are called load marks. And these marks ships still have today, and basically they let you know how heavy your boat is, how much more you need ballast you need to make sure that your boat is stable enough in the water. Here is the Antelope, written in yellow letters, in yellow paint. Now, in Lake Michigan, you wouldn't get this paint. In Lake Superior, because of the depth and how cold it is and how much oxygen is lacking, you could still get paint. And that really helps us identify ships. Now, the Antelope was originally built as a passenger steamer in 1861. And then it had burned, and then it had been turned into a barge, and it was used on Lake Superior. Here, we're still in the bow. This is the anchor. Both anchors are still latched to the ship, which shows that they weren't trying to anchor when they sank. Here is the boiler, which was used a lot in loading and unloading cargo. Above is, right here, is the steam whistle. Now this was used for communication. When they went in and out of ports, if they wanted to communicate with other boats, they would use this steam whistle, also for SOS. This, since it was a barge, it was being towed by another ship. It didn't have a way to propel it all. And so this boat, the only way it could go was being pulled. And so as it was going down, it would have to communicate to the steamer that it was being towed by, and the steamer's name was Hiram W. Sibley. Here, we're still in the bow, is a barrel. We believe it is a barrel. It is highly broken, but with the visibility, sometimes it's hard to see, hard to tell what something is. I also want to point out all of the things on the screen of the ROV that give us a lot of information that we need. So you have the temperature, which is over here, the depth that it's in, the pitch and the roll the pitch tells us how far forward or back, leaning back is the ROV, and side to side is the roll. Also the heading, the compass heading, we can tell which way the boat was pointed. And then again, you have your date and your timestamp. Here are some dead eyes, which were used in the rigging. You can kind of see it. This is the dead eye, and there's little holes here, here, and here. And when you look at it face on, they do look like a dead person. It's kind of weird. So the ropes would come through here, these three holes, and go up. And they would attach to another set of dead eyes. And these would be able to make this shroud tight. And so it would keep the mast steady, and then people could go up and down it. Right here we have the cargo hold. So you see a hatch. Now the hatch cover has been blown off. But this hole shows what's in it, and there's coal in here. And we know that when this ship sank, it was actually bound for Ashland, Wisconsin, with a load of coal. And you can see the coal in here, right here, and there's some on the deck as well. Now this whole hatch is it's quite large. And what's right in the center of it, this thing, is part of the rigging. This is a gaff or a boom, so this would have helped load and unload. You can see the visibility is not the greatest, but through all the particles and all the silt, you can see right here is a coal shovel, which again shows you that there's coal in the hold. So right here we just see a lot of silt, but we do get critters on these shipwrecks. Even in 300 feet of water, this is a burbot, and there's not very many critters hanging around, but that one is. Now this is the bilge pump. And what this does is basically, if you get water in the hold, you use it to pump it out. Well, this vessel sank in 1893, so it's quite old. and it was in heavy seas. And what happened was the seams parted and water started to get into the ship, and the pumps could not keep up. There was probably more than one bilge pump on this ship, but in here you can see this piece of wood is actually the handle, and this would actually be put into here and used to pump up and down. Here in the stern is the ship's wheel. As you can see, it's broken off. The whole stern had fallen off. And this is how you would steer the boat. Near the ship's wheel, actually, is a jug. What happened when the vessel sank was the air pressure in the captain's cabin, which the captain's cabin would have been in the aft of the vessel, so the back. The captain's cabin blew off. And when that happened, a lot of the personal effects and stuff blew off as well, which landed just past the back of the boat. And so you see a lot of personal effects around this area, including this intact jug. Now here we still have rigging on this ship and a mast still standing, which is very unusual. You don't get this a lot, and there's still white paint on it. Now here are things called blocks, and it is part of the rigging. And so these would be used as pulleys that you would see to help burden the cargo, make it less heavy. You can also see up here this box. Now this box is called a mast light box. And a lantern would fit into this box, and so it would show a light on the mast. Here is the top of the mast. The mast stands 90 feet from the deck of the ship and is capped with metal. You can still see there's white paint on it. And here is what the Antelope looked like right before it sank. You can see the captain's cabin is in the stern. You have the boiler in the bow, and here is where that mast was. Right here are some dead eyes, and you can see the shroud that would go up to the top of the mast, which crew would use to go up there and put the lights up there, or if they need to fix something up there, they could. You still have the anchors that we saw back here. Yeah, and so this is the Antelope.